Hi guys, my name is Joyce Esteban, but everyone calls me MJ. I'm a freshman majoring in human bio, and I've also had the pleasure of interning for Filipino Cultural Night. I'm very excited to say I'm running to be your director of Filipino Cultural Night for next year. What drew me to PCN was being a part of PCN and Barrio. I was able to see the beauty of what happens when we as a club come together and make something so beautiful, as well as impact those who are able to see it. Throughout my time in PAA, I've had the pleasure to uplift and celebrate Filipino culture with a group of diverse students. Through joining PAA Cultural, I gained a greater understanding and meaning of different dances that I initially thought were just cool. I was able to learn more about my culture while making new friends. And with pride, the end result was something that was beautiful for others to learn about as well. I realized what it really meant to be Filipino, working together while building bonds with anyone, no matter the background. Furthermore, going to general meetings has made me more aware of the political state of the Philippines. This reminded me of the strength that Filipinos have, and it's because of the history that allows the Filipinx-American Alliance to celebrate this culture that holds so many stories. There's so much effort, fun, and love that goes into this club. On the surface, nights such as Barrio and PCN show the high energy and joy of Filipino culture. However, going deeper into that, there is so much more intention that goes into these big nights. I'm confident that with my experiences, I can collaborate and communicate effectively, listen with patience, as well as lead with kindness. For my vision and execution, while the duties of the Director of Filipino Cultural Night are to organize and head Barrio Fiesta and Filipino Cultural Night or other events, this position carries so much more weight, whether it be through our history, customs, as well as art. Celebrating Filipino culture isn't just a two-night event. The Director of PCN also serves as a liaison between CMCDs. I also plan to form more collaborations between the CMCDs and AAPI orgs as well. Different organizations would be able to share their art with other cultural organizations and can learn more about Filipino culture. Think of social mixers, but also informational cultural workshops or even dancing workshops. These aspects won't only bring more awareness to the culture, but also bring more fun experiences to CMCD. I also plan to bring more of a connection to Filipino culture to the Merced community through outreach through other CMCDs. To do that, during the summer, local high schools will be contacted and CMCDs can come in as a guest speaker to share history of Filipino culture through their art. I also plan to use Gen Meets as a space
Second.
to share more about the language, history, and even the political state of the Philippines. With the best intentions, making connections through collaboration as well as strengthening existing ones uplifts PCN to its greatest and is able to make a lasting impact for the future. Thank you for listening.
At this time, we will begin questions with the first question coming from the current chair. And then after the current chairs ask their question, the questions will be open to all members. I have a motion to open questions.
Second.
Hi, MJ. So proud of you. I have two questions for you, but I'll start with the first one. So, given that PCN is a very heavy, time-consuming job, and it's not a one-person job, how are you going to balance the role and responsibility as a single coordinator?
So thank you for asking that question. And it's actually a really good question because due to some very special circumstances, I had actually originally intended to run with a co. But like I said, due to these certain circumstances, this co was not able to run at this time. However, I do plan on working with this co unofficially during the summer when it comes to planning the logistics for Barrio as well as PCN. I also know that I can also fall on CAB or even eBoard to help me.
Thank you. And my second question to you is about Creative Team. So this year, our Creative Team was underutilized in some areas. Do you have any specific plans for Creative Team and what you want them to achieve?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first part of the question?
So this year, our creative team was underutilized in some areas. Do you have any specific plans for the creative team and what you want them to achieve?
I think in terms of specific plans for a creative team, I would have to sit down with the whole team and get a vision of what they might see or what I could see. I know that with creative team, the sky could literally be the limit. So I would just feel comfortable saying anything that I wish that could happen, and I would want to communicate that they have a lot of free reign to do anything when it comes to PCN or Barrio or anything like that.
Good stuff with your speech. It was really good. My question is, how are you planning to elevate Barrio Fiesta and Filipino Cultural Night through your own vision?
So I'm actually really excited that you asked this because myself and the person who I originally intended on having as a co, we were really inspired by Lori and Jared from Cultural with their modern tinikling set that they did for Hangout Day. As the thing that I mentioned with having other CMCDs collaborate, we thought it would be really cool for maybe modern cultural as well as choir to have a final set for Barrio specifically, where they have their own free reign and have their own time to do one final performance. We thought that would be really cool.
Hello, MJ. Super proud of you. So my question for you is that, seeing that you're running this solo, what is your action plan for summer preparations before your co's special election in the fall?
I mentioned this a little bit in my speech. I plan on relying on that co unofficially with helping me for planning the logistics for Barrio and PCN in the summer. And I also know that I could fall on eBoard and the rest of CAP, but of course I plan on utilizing that unofficial co during the summer.
And then I have a second question. So given how time-consuming Barrio Fiesta and PCN can be, how will you delegate and balance your time between yourself, your academics, and the people you'll be collaborating with?
I think that the biggest thing that I was able to learn this year is the importance of balancing things. So I think that I know that I have a responsibility as a student, as well as I truly, truly want to make PCN and Barrio the best that it could be. So of course, that comes with prioritizing my studies, but as well as prioritizing PAA as a club. I also think that knowing that it's okay to take some breaks sometimes so that I can deal with burnout.
Hello, MJ. Good job on your speech. So, as you may be aware, Barrio and PCN can be expensive events, and you do have to work on a budget. So, I want to ask, how familiar are you with working on a budget? And as a kind of second part of that question, how do you intend to allocate budgets to CMCDs and Creative Team?
I think a big part about allocating the budget between the CMCDs as well as creative team is communication and communicating with what CMCDs and creative team might want for their sets for both Barrio and PCN. I also think it's important that I set aside a set budget for each event.
Hi, MJ. Really good job on your speech. I'm so proud of you. My question is, sorry, I'm gonna pull it up. My question is, PCN oversees a lot of what CMCD does and helps facilitate communication between all of them. How will you advocate for the success and cohesion of CMCD?
I motion for more time.
Second.
Can you repeat the last part of your question? Sorry.
How will you advocate for the success and cohesion of CMCD as a whole?
I want to start by saying that I think it's important that I talk with all CMCDs and let them know that their vision is very important and I will try and support them with anything of that sense. But I also would like to be realistic with them and as well as set boundaries with what might be more realistic and what might not. So.
Basic question, why
So personally, I was never able to be a part of something like this in high school. So when I came here and I saw PCN, I mentioned this in my speech, I was able to experience both Barrio and now PCN. I really wanted to be a part of something bigger. Performing was amazing, but I saw how much it impacted me as a person. So I hope that with helping coordinate PCN, I can have that impact on other people. Not just that, but also those who watch it. Because I really wanna share the beauty of this culture and what happens when a club like comes together and can make something amazing.
Oh, I know you talked a lot about relying on your co in the special event that your co cannot be there for specific things while they're unofficial. Do you have a backup plan for that?
Yes, I mentioned this earlier. I plan on knowing that I am also allowed to rely on eBoard or even CAB. I plan on communicating with eBoard in the sense that maybe I don't have that unofficial co as my official co. I plan on mainly coordinating with eBoard and CAB.
Hello again, MJ. So, part of being PCN, as you mentioned, is sharing culture and being informed. And you mentioned about how you're sharing how you were learning about the politics of the Philippines. What steps do you plan to take to keep yourself culturally informed and culturally sensitive if you take on the role as PCN?
Just always doing my research and, like you said, staying informed. I know that I would want to help educate others on the political state or even the history of the Philippines. So I know that that is something that I would also have to do on my own.
Is this on? Hello? Okay, fire. I know you kind of touched upon it, but how will you handle running for this position by yourself, just assuming that the person that you plan to specially elect no longer wants to run? And I understand that you mentioned that you would reach out for e-board for help or other cabinet members, but what would that specifically look like to you?
To me, it would look like communicating exactly what I would need for help with eBoard, or I feel like if it's something more CMCD focused, then I could communicate to someone in CMCD. I also understand that because I am running for this position by myself, and although with an unofficial co, they might not be officially elected, I understand that I would have to step up myself even more in this position.
Well, hi, MJ, you did a really good job. I just have like a more general question. So, being part of cabinet is really important, and it's important about communication, right?
I'm sorry, but that's time.
No, never mind.
That's a big slow. I motion to end question.